Yo, what's good? Welcome to Counter Currents. This is episode 100. I'm your host, Petey Steele.
And your co-host, Elena Torres. And today, our guest for special episode 100, we are so excited. Please welcome the hilarious Adam Ferrara.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Pete. Don't get up.
What's going on, man? I really appreciate you joining us for this centennial episode.
Yeah, I had no idea. I was looking for. I'm always looking forward to coming to see you guys at the Draft House, so I will be there. And when you guys asked me to do the podcast, I said hell yes. So I'm glad to be here and happy 100th. You guys look good. How's your hip?
Thank you. You know, I broke it a couple times, but doing those stretches,
Yeah, it's 100 episodes is good. I'm at like maybe episode 82, 83 in that vicinity. And nice. It's a labor of love, but don't it's a lot of work. Podcasts are a lot of work. So thank you guys for listening and watching and whatever you're doing, consuming these podcasts, because we do put a lot of time and energy into it. So as long as it's being well received, I don't mind putting the work in.
Yeah, it's true. And the funny thing is when you start a podcast, you're like, oh, it's no problem. We'll just meet once a week and do it. It'll be no issue. And
no, you got to work real hard to make it look easy.
Yep. There's all kinds of, I've become an audio engineer. Mm-hmm. There's all kinds of other fun stuff that happens in podcasts, but like you said, it's worth it.
Yeah. But I'm having fun on mine. I'm getting to talk to people that I'm really interested in talking to. And because I have the show, they come like, who did I just have? Oh, I don't know when this is going to air, but coming up, like Michael Imperioli from The Sopranos.
Nice.
I spoke to Nathan Lane, which was a lot of fun for me.
Wow.
If you're a sports fan, I had Joe Buck on. Edie Falco did one for me, Kevin James, and it's a lot of fun. I get different people. I had an astronaut on. I spoke to Katie Coleman. She lived in the space station for 6 months.
Oh my God!
And I
like no problem for her. COVID and quarantine. She's like, yeah.
She would rather have zero gravity at home. So I spoke to her. She was there for 6 months, and she plays the flute. So she did a duet from space with Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull. Wow. God. Yeah. I've done nothing with my life. This space and played a duet with Ian Anderson. She was great. Who else? Oh, I had on an FBI profiler that worked on the Bundy case. That was creepy.
Wow.
Yeah, he was fun. Yeah, we took a left turn into some kind of nuttiness there. But
was that one of the people that was on that documentary on Netflix?
No, this guy named Bradley Garrett. He was an FBI profiler, and he worked on that case. But he was a correspondent for a true crime dude for ABC News. He had a long list of places he worked. So he was telling me all about that. And I had on, I don't know if you guys are the Zodiac Killer. There's a documentary on FX called The Most Dangerous Animal of All. 4-part docuseries. I watched the whole thing. I called my producer. I go, we got to talk to the lady that wrote the book. And I spoke to her too. She was great.
So what's the main thing that you learned talking with all of these like psychopath experts?
They get caught.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing about serial killers. I'm like, there's cognizance of guilt. It's not like I didn't know. No, you didn't. You knew. You buried the bodies in your basement while you're wearing a clown suit, Mr. Gacy. You knew, So, yeah, I always thought that they lived in their own private Idaho, but they knew exactly what they were doing.
And they liked it.
Yeah. And part of them, I'm guessing, probably want to get caught in a way. Like they're doing it because they want the attention.
I think it's a compulsion. You can't really help it. It's like, from what I got, it's a compulsion, and they got really good at it. And Bundy specifically, only because I had intimate knowledge of the case through my guest on the show, he was really charming. No one knew to look for it then. That scene in Silence of the Lambs with the broken arm. Can you help me put this in my van? I'll hit you with my kid. That actually happened. They lifted that right out of the case file.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that actually happened. Bundy did that. Because he was a charming dude. He wasn't that much, and he could fit in on a college campus. So he rode around. He had a body in a Volkswagen. That's commitment.
Oh my God!
It's not. Oh my God! Let's say I'm a serial killer. I'm getting, a truck, something with a bed, maybe, a pickup with a cap, maybe. This guy's got it in a Volkswagen.
Yeah, so, if you can have that smell in a coupe, that's how you know you're committed.
There you go.
You know, they said though in that documentary that those bugs were all over Seattle and the places where killing. So it was kind of like he knew how to blend, or maybe just synchronicity. I don't know.
Yeah, he fit into the public. He was very charming. Nobody would suspect him. And again, it really wasn't in the consciousness of these serial killers are out there. I mean, the end of the 60s was the Manson murders. So, you know, the end of if you look at it music wise, you know, Woodstock was peace and love, and then Altamont was now it's over. You know. So that when the Manson murders came out, everyone just started locking their doors, and the drugs moved from LSD to and marijuana to like, welcome, we love everybody, all is one, to cocaine going, lock the door, there's killers out there. So everything switched then. But still the awareness of serial killers and predators wasn't in the popular consciousness. So that was also a contributing factor to how he got away with it.
Did they talk at all about how there's sort of this public obsession with these people? And does that make it worse? Because there is, right?
Yeah, well, there's an aspect of there's a seductive nature to it of the danger, and so even like I was drawn into the Zodiac Killer because it happened at the time and the place that I always had an affinity for, San Francisco in the '60s, and that whole music and that whole era of everything. Because it was way before my time, but it was like I remember when I look at the news footage, there's a part of my brain that remembers seeing like people like that on TV. So I'm kind of fascinated because I got a taste of it, but I wasn't really aware of it. And it was the guy wore a hood. He wore an executioner's hood. He was the first one that taunted the police, wrote letters. He wrote letters and he gave ciphers to the San Francisco Chronicles. He was leaving clues and everything. So it was like, this is tailor-made, you know, and he was never found. So it was like, you know, the mystery continues. So yeah, the nice thing about the show is I get to go off on tangents like that. And if I see something I like, I get to talk to the people. Yesterday, I just spoke to R.J. Cutler, who directed the Showtime documentary on Belushi, because I was Showtime.
Oh, that's next on my list. I just watched that Comedy Store documentary on Showtime.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
One's great. Did you see it? They sent. I got a preview of it. It was great. And I called the office and said I want to talk to the director, and they said okay. And the guy said I'll do it. So I spoke to him yesterday. It was great.
That's awesome. Did the director have any connection to Belushi, or was it just like?
He did no. He was a documentary filmmaker. His first documentary got nominated for an Academy Award. It was The War Room, the Clinton documentary.
That was excellent. The Carville, Mary Madeline thing. Yeah.
That's when you looked at James Carville and you're like, those guys are married, you know?
Yeah. So they got together, they explore it and all that. I remember they did a bear commercial or one of those Advil things back in the day. Two of them giving each other headaches, and now they had to suck down, feed a Minifin to stay married or whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, it was great. So I spoke to him. I don't know when that's going to be out. There's a new Jerky Boys album. I don't know if you guys are Jerky Boys.
I love the Jerky Boys, dude. You're hitting all my fucking notes.
I was gonna say, Petey is like.
My girlfriend is gonna be so pissed when she hears this because I quote Sopranos and Jerky Boys like nonstop because I'm an asshole for that. So.
I spoke to Johnny Brennan, who created it. He's got a new album out, so he stopped by. So that was great. And if you're a Sopranos fan, who did I have on? Edie Falco I had on. Steve Sharippa. Michael.
Yeah, I saw Sharippa, and the thing we were going over it last night. That's fucking cool, Bobby.
Yeah, he's a sweet guy. I've known him for years. I knew him. He did my show. I had a show called Top Gear, and he did an episode of that for me. And I knew him from, just from stand up. He used to run the Rib in Vegas.
Yeah, I never saw one of his sets. I couldn't find any on YouTube or anything. I mean, I was happy to learn he was a stand-up before being an actor.
He wasn't really. He was an actor. He booked the room. He ran the room.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, he's a sweet guy, and so it's to have that access to be able to talk to people on the show is great. That's why when you guys asked me, I said, "Shit, yeah, let's do it. Let's have some."
Yeah, thanks for doing that. We're thrilled. And it's the cool thing is because usually the way this podcast works, we talk to comics between shows on Saturday, so we usually only get people for like 20 minutes.
Right.
But the cool thing with this is we've been able to talk to some of you guys for like longer periods of time and without the sort of like nervous because you're about to do a show, right? It's not like everybody's nervous.
Yeah, no, but you're not totally present because you got something to do. And you're a neurotic comic that requires the adulation of others to fill the hole in your empty life.
That's true. Speaking of empty lives, tell us about yours. Where'd you grow up?
Where did I grow up? I was born in Queens. I was raised on Long Island. No
Huntington Station, right?
Huntington Station, and I was in Huntington. I don't know. If something gets on Wikipedia and it stays, that's what, you were a gold medalist. Yes. So yeah, I was raised out on Long Island, and I got lucky because my parents, specifically my father, because he was my hero and still is, was very supportive of me doing stand-up because no one in my family did this. I come from, construction workers. Everyone worked with their hands, and as did I, until my father realized you're not good at this. This ain't for you. This is you're gonna go hungry if this is what you got to do for a living. So, so I grew up, but my father was very supportive because I didn't know I wanted to be a stand-up. I don't know if you guys knew when you guys wanted to.
Fuck no.
No clue. The only thing I consciously remember was when I was 12 years old, I went to a party with my, those parties you used to go to with your mom and dad, where your mother would give you the warning in the car. Like,
yeah.
Go in there like, now your father does business with these people.
Yes.
Save yourself.
Yeah.
You act like an animal.
You just stay by the hors d'oeuvres and try to find a friend.
Keep your mouth shut. Don't touch the man's furniture. Don't touch the lady's stuff. And for God's sake, don't clog the toilet.
Yeah.
Take guests. Okay.
Stick to the kids section.
Yeah. So they went downstairs and they watched a VHS tape of Richard Pryor, the
Sunset Strip.
No, the one before that, Santa Monica concert where Patti LaBelle opened for him.
Oh yeah, live in concert. Right.
So he went up. The adults went upstairs. I snuck down. I was about 12 years. I snuck down. I rewound the tape, and I was standing there watching it with my mouth open. There's no one else in the room. And I just remember saying out loud to nobody, I'm like, look what this man can do. Mm-hmm. I didn't know. I didn't put I'm going to do that's me. That's what I want to do. I knew this was important. I didn't know what it meant to me. This was important. This was the first time in my life my full attention was focused on this. And I was just like drawn in. So then I started doing Richard Pryor's bits on the school bus. And you get laughs. You don't know what you're saying, but you get laughs. 12-year-old white kid. What the hell do I know? Yeah. But I was getting laughs. And then I started, I saved up money and I started buying the albums and I had to keep them under the bed. And then I got introduced to Carlin. So the comedy album became very important to me. There was Robert Klein, that whole door opened up. I mean, I bought an album from The Tonight Show. They recorded The Tonight Show. It was the fucking Tonight Show on an album. I bought it. Don Rickles, I bought all that stuff.
Great.
Saturday Night Live had an album. They just had the bits.
Really?
It was an album. The bits, they had it on the on an album, and I got that too. I put them all
like the greatest hits or something.
It was just the audio of the sketches, and they put it on an album.
Wow.
And you've seen the picture. Dan Aykroyd's pulling his hair this way, and they're all lined up. That was the album cover, and they just made it. And I would consume everything. And I would get when I say I got the album, I get the cassette tapes because they had the Walkmans, and I would just walk around. And I processed by listening because I'm dyslexic. So that was just, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just throwing shit into the machine.
Right.
And then I got out of college. I told my parents, well, we've done one of your things.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to try one of mine. And I went down to an open mic on Long Island and I did well. And I figured that would be it. Okay, I did it. I can check that off my list. And I got a call. I didn't know that my soon-to-be agent was in the audience. And he tracked down my number through the club. And he said, hey, are you open tomorrow night? This is Tom. We met the other night. And I had no idea what he was talking about. I go, yeah, you want to go bowling or something? I got $20 to go do my act. He goes, I need you to do 5 in front of Jackie Martling at this bar.
Joke, man. Wow.
Yeah, at this bar, because he lived in like East Norwich or somewhere. He lived on that, and I was from Long Island, and I had a car. So I guess somebody told him that. He goes, I need you to do 5 minutes. I need you to do your act. And I remember going, oh, sure. I have an act? I have an act? They gave me $20. I did 5 minutes.
Wow.
I had no idea what I was doing. I came home to tell my mother. I said, I got $20. Give me that. I'm going to press it in a book. She took the $20. She pressed it in the book. I never saw the cash again. But after that, I realized, I said, well, look, I don't know if I'll ever get this again, but if it happens, I better do something. So I listened to the tape because the only thing I really wanted out of it was to make my own tape because those were the things I was listening to. And it was like magic when I heard my own voice and I heard the laughter with the voice. It was like, I was like, now it wasn't comparison to what I was listening to, but the fact that my voice and those, where the laughs should have been or where some laughs were, I'm like, wow. But again, no expectation that this is what I wanted to do. I had this thing I could listen to. So
did you feel like it was a fluke almost?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I felt when I did it the first time and it worked. And then the next 8 times after that, I was like, no, this is bullshit.
I'm 30 years in. I'm going, I'm still fooling these fucking people.
Right.
They have no idea. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, there's times you get laughs and you're like, really?
Yeah, it's like all the stuff you're doing, all the acting gigs and the podcasts and stuff. This isn't even plugged in. This is nothing. I'm making it up. So I started doing stand-up, and then I was fortunate. You know why I worked so much when I was a kid? I had a car. Because I always worked. I always had a car. I always worked for somebody. Even though it was my dad in the construction business, I had a work ethic because the boss followed me home. So it's not like I can call in sick, you know? And you got to be on time, and you got to know what he's thinking before he thinks it to give him what he needs before he asks for it. Because that's the way. So that was the way I was conditioned. So I just took that work ethic and applied it to stand-up. Like, all right, if something else happens, I'll have this, and I have this. So I just kept working. And because I knew to be on time, I knew time was money, and I had a car, I would pick up, because I was from Long Island, I would pick up all the headliners in Manhattan, because there were these little one-nighters you could do in Jersey and Connecticut, but they couldn't get there because no one in Manhattan had a car. So they would have to take a train and get picked up, and the clubs didn't want that. So these little booking agencies found out I was on time, I was funny, and I had a car. So I drove in. Then the Improv used to be, I think it was on 44th and 10th or 54th and 10th. It was on the west side. And we used to meet the comics, the headliners there, and you pick them up at the Improv, and we drive to the gig. And on the way home, you drop them off. You're supposed to drop them off at the same place. Well, I would always tell them, hey, look, you're going to get out of my car to get into a cab, which is another car to take you home. Save the cab fare. I'll take you home. Where do you live? So I took them home directly, and the phone would ring. Yeah, I'll take the gig. Send Adam to pick me up, because they knew they were going to save money on cab fare. I was on time. The car was clean, and the ladies I worked with felt safe. Okay, you work.
So smart.
Yeah.
So smart. I feel like that's something with a career in entertainment, you know, in the beginning when I was young, because I'm also pretty reliable.
Good for you.
And I was just,
I'm gonna call you Timex.
Yeah, that's me. I've always been like that, just because same thing as you, like my parents just instilled that in me.
Yeah.
Since I was really young, like just, you know, don't fuck up at work. Like your boss is your boss, you know, none of this ego.
Friend.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't care what you've gone through.
Yeah. They don't care about your story. Like you are there to work for them, and they pay you money for doing that. So show up when you're supposed to, do what you're supposed to, and leave. And in the beginning, when I worked in entertainment, I almost felt bad about it. But then it's such an advantage because so many people are not those things that you're talking about. So if you're funny, but there's other funny people, but if you're funny plus being professional, it's a huge leg up.
Yeah, there's no aggravation. It's not like he's funny, but you don't want to hear he's funny, but
right.
You want to be the first one on the set. You want to know your friggin' lines. You don't want to be, that's it. It's a business. It's a machine.
Right.
Do you feel sometimes in this business there's kind of a bad self-fulfilling prophecy of like the self-destructive comic that just sort of lends itself to not being professional and then fucking it all up?
It's a choice. It's a choice. You're either aware of the choice or you're not, but a choice is being made. And if you're self-destructive, you're going to be self-destructive no matter what you do. Comedy didn't do this to you. This is just
true.
This is the context in which your self-destructiveness has shown itself,
Right.
Sure.
I got friends of mine still swinging a hammer, the most self-destructive people I've ever met. It's like, I think there is something to the emotional, being misled emotionally as to your self-worth through adulation of other people. If you connect your identity to the outcome and the to your job, which is real easy to fucking do. When that's gone, you're left to your own devices, and then who am I?
Right.
You know, so that it shows itself more in our business, but it's still present in every other work environment, I guess.
Right. And then over the course, you say you've been at this for 30 years.
Yeah.
So you started in New York. You know, you're getting with these headliners and but what was the scene like back then versus now? Like, has stand-up really changed?
Well, for me, we started on Long Island. So there was a sense of community, and there was I was part of a generation that came up because there was the older dudes, you know, and then there was me, Kevin James, Gary Valentine, Rock Rubin. Those were the four people at the East Side Comedy Club. And then I was in an improv group with Rob Bartlett, who wrote for Imus for years. So what happened was we would all get together on Wednesdays and just bring our notebooks, and there was a community. We'd support ourselves. We'd see each other at the club every night. Kevin and I ended up getting an apartment together because we didn't have enough time to do college shows on our own. But we did have enough time where we both did stand-up, and we'd fill in the rest with improv. So we could work. So we had we had a two-man gig we put together, and we worked. So when I got my first TV deal, I moved out to LA. There was no sense of community at the improv. You know, we used to play wiffle ball at the East Side Comedy Club in the back, you know, in the afternoon. We put a strike zone on the side of the building, play wiffle ball in the parking lot, go in, write jokes, go home, take a shower, and go on stage that night, and then come back and do it again. So there was no sense of community when I came out to start doing TV in California. So it didn't really change for me then as much as it made me more self-sufficient. That, okay, I can, you know, I'm living out here now. And I was a kid. I was living out here now. I got this TV deal. I don't know what's going to happen here, but I know I can still work. So I went on the road. I went on the road to work because I'd eat, you know, and still try to get this TV thing going. So as far as how comedy has changed, I think now, for me, it's you got to be real. And it's you got to be real, not careful, but everyone has a friggin' opinion. And colleges are the most touchy places to work that are the arbiter of what you can and can't say from a racial group you're not a part of. And you're 20, okay?
Right.
I'm like, okay, listen, I'm a grown-ass man. I'm talking about the past, and you don't have one yet. You know? So, you know, I don't understand. There's so much righteous indignation about it, which muddies the water when people are, you know, muddies the water for serious shit of inequality, you know, and that's what, but it's like that with any movement. There's going to be barnacles on the hull of anything moving forward. You know?
Right. Yeah. We've talked a fair amount about that on this podcast, about just sort of like cancel culture and all this sort of like hypersensitivity and what that does to comedy in and of itself.
Twitchiness. See, and I don't know why. I'm just trying to think of how did we get to this twitchiness in at this point in time in society? And I think it's because people don't want information. They want affirmation. They just want, they believe, and you can dial up whatever fucking reality you want. So anything that's really it's not true, is an attack on your personal identity and reality. So you're in defense mode because you think you're being attacked when you're like, no, I'm telling you the truth. This is what happened. There's no alternative facts. There's just facts. You know? Yeah. The alternative is the spin you put on that fact.
Right.
You know? And I go back to the work ethic with my dad. Are you on time? No. My father always used to do this. My wife hates it when I do this. Here. Is it here? No. Whatever's supposed to be here, is it here? No. Everything else is an excuse or a story, and I don't want to hear either one. So it's all black and white for me, which is not a good way to be. But when things have to get done and on a certain time and everything, it's a nice awareness to have. But you know, not when you're dealing with people, but when you're dealing with things that have to be done. Look, Saturday Night Live doesn't go on because it's funny. It goes on because it's 11:30.
Right. 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 And I feel like a lot of that, I mean, from having that work ethic, have you felt that you've learned more? Because even if you're not feeling it, has that made you more, or I guess more, have better armor when you bomb? Because it's like, look, I just got to be here. I got to do this. And
oh no, I'm still a fucking mess. I can say these words, but I can take it very seriously because there is so much work and so much of me put into it. I'm better now at realizing, okay, that's what that moment was. That doesn't mean it's this. I'm better now at that as I've been doing this more and getting older and realizing what it took for me to get here. I know when I phoned it in and when I haven't. And the nice thing is I rarely, if ever, do it because it means something to me. The outcome, the shift that I've became aware of is I'm entitled to doing my work. You know, if everyone, I know the work has been done.
Right.
You know, the outcome's out of my fucking control.
Right.
But I know I did everything I can do to get to this moment. You know.
Right.
And it haunts you too. I'm like, fuck, I got to look better on stage. I don't want to wear the jacket, but it's Saturday night. You put on a jacket.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I just hope that like when you have as much comedy experience as you do, how the bombing hopefully hurts a little less. I don't know. At least that's what I tell my husband. My husband, after I bomb, after I come home from comedy, he'll be like,
how'd you do? Yeah.
And then he'll look at my face and be like, oh no, I'm not going to be able to go to sleep for a while.
Yeah. Look, it still hurt. I'll give you this. It still hurts, and acknowledge the hurt, because the minute it doesn't hurt, you don't care anymore.
Yeah.
I would encourage you to process it quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get it out of the fucking machine. This hurts.
You brought up Richard Pryor earlier, and today's his birthday, and I mean, I consider him one of the top 5 ever. And Felicia Michaels was posting a story earlier today on social media about how she watched him, I think, 4 consecutive nights when she was just a young 20-something, you know, and watched him eat a dick in one room at the comedy store, then move to the next one the next night and maybe walk half the room. But each night coming back with the same shit, it would just be a little tighter tuned. And then fucking the last night, he just gets this meteoric applause and just crushes everything. And it taught her, you know, as a youth to kind of stick to the plan, but you just keep, you know, pounding it out. And that's a kind of intellectual honesty and a comedic discipline.
If it's not going to come to you. I mean, the thing that, and the blessing and the curse that I had is I can improv and I can go on stage and I can riff and I can hold an audience's attention, you know, for a fairly good amount of time. And if I wanted to, I've done it. I've done whole sets that way. You know, maybe I've done it out of 45 minutes, maybe I've done 5-10 minutes of material and the rest was just riffing and callbacks and shit. It's fun. It's something that I'm really good at, but in order to advance, you can't do that every night. In order to advance, you have to, all right, I have this tool. I'm just not going to do this. I need to get this done. And then I need to work on that. So I can take all the elements and put them all in there to do the work. Like you said, you have to do the work. And the work is to live in uncertainty of not knowing if this is going to work and sticking to it. Because uncertainty is where all the possibilities are.
Right.
So, you know, sometimes when you're really bombing, the little comedy machine you will give you the line you need to get you to the next piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you identify and I know what your husband's going through, you know, because I know what I go through, but at this point, especially if I'm home, when I come home, I don't bring it into the house because, you know, I'll talk to my wife. Like, I felt this, and this, and I'll give it a place to exist. It'll be in the car. If you can live with me until I get to the house, but you're not fucking coming in.
That's smart. I need to get there because my husband also loves comedy. I'm lucky about that. So he'll like go over the set with me for as long as I need, but there has to be a point. I mean, like you're talking about PD, like with Richard Pryor, like there has to be a point where you just have to be like, that doesn't mean that I'm a terrible comic.
Ask yourself when you're doing the post-mortem on your bit and you want to go over it.
Yeah.
Ask yourself the questions you're trying to answer. What do I need to fix? And how much of this is just to make me feel better?
Right.
And what you need to fix is the jokes you're going to fix. And once you do that and you know what to try again to the next night, that emotion takes over for the "oh, poor me" bullshit.
Right. Totally.
Because now you're excited about doing something. You've taken action. You want to get back and fix it. And when you start separating the "oh, poor me" bullshit and this sucks and I'm no good from what do I need to do?
Yeah.
That always seems to win. What do I need to do? Is the positive energy you want to hang on to. The other bullshit's always going to be there. It's just a question of how much attention you give it.
Totally. And speaking of problems in stand-up, I have a feeling, have you ever hit a point in your career, I have a feeling with you this is probably true, where not only you're doing stand-up, but you're also shooting one or two things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're up at 5 a.m. for a call time, and then you have a set at 12:30 at wherever. So talk about how you've handled those phases of your career. I have a feeling you've had a few.
You don't sleep. Yeah. No, you're great. You handle it by not getting, I handle it by not getting overwhelmed. This was one of the nights I went, all right, you asked for this shit. I was on a show called Top Gear, which is a car show. So I was shooting that. We were on top of Monmouth Mountain. I had to drive a Cadillac up a ski slope. And we had to make the last shot was at sunset. I'm on Monmouth Mountain at sunset. We finished the last scene, me and the two other guys I'm on the show with. Okay, they put me in the Snowcat to bring me down. Helicopter picked me up, took me to LAX, put me on a red eye, flew to JFK. There was a car at JFK that drove me to Silver Cup Studios where we shot Nurse Jackie. I took a shower in my dressing room and then shot a 7:30 scene with Edie Falco for Nurse Jackie. So I didn't sleep. I slept like this on the plane.
Right.
So I slept like this on the plane. And I was doing two shows at the same time. I was doing Nurse Jackie and Top Gear at the same time for about 8 episodes. So that's 10 weeks. So that was, and sprinkle stand up in between when we could. But yeah, and that's how you do it. You do it because you work so hard to get there that when it all comes your way, if you frame everything, what I found is, all right, how am I going to frame this in my head? Because there's always panic. I can't do this. I'm never going to get it done. I'm not prepared. I'm like, all right. There's that energy. Mm-hmm. I've asked for this. Here it is. If it all goes to shit, I always look at it this way. If it all goes to shit, what's at least I need to say to myself? Mm-hmm. So I need to say, fuck, I gave it everything I got. It all went to shit. That's just the way that one worked out.
Right.
You know, it's Johnny Depp in the end of Pirates of the Caribbean 2. He's on the Black Pearl and the Kraken's coming up. He just takes out his sword and he's like, hello, beastie.
Oh, yeah.
If you're going to die with a fucking sword in your hand. Right. Don't die whimper and think I'm never going to do it.
Right.
So that once I found, for me anyway, if you take that this isn't going to happen energy away, or what if it doesn't work out, and go, okay, it doesn't work out. What do you need to say to yourself at the end of that? You're not going to die, but you're going to have to live with yourself. How can you live with yourself? And just do what you need to do that. And then you're kind of, it's not that you want it to fail, but you're kind of okay if it does, because you've prepared yourself in a positive way. That's why,
you won't have to play what if.
No.
Yeah.
Well, you still do, but you realize it falls away quickly. Like, oh, if I only, that bullshit starts. But then you're like, nah, I keep journals. I go back, I go, listen, I did everything I could do at the moment. I did the best I could with the information I had. That's another thing that helped me. Do the best you can with the information you have. Mm-hmm. And then realize that everything changes. Everything will evolve or devolve depending on your participation in it. How do you want to be in the face of it? That's what I keep asking myself.
Yeah, it's true. How do you want to be when you're in the eye of the storm?
Yeah, how do you want to be in the face of it? And a lot of the shit we just create in our own fucking heads.
That's true. That's true. And you were talking about Top Gear. Were you a big car guy before that? Now I'm sure you have more knowledge than most.
I was a car guy. I still can't fix them. Can't fix them. The carburetor's gone. I'm fucked. I was fucked before. Now I'm fucked with. So I can't fix them. But yeah, I loved cars before because my dad was very mechanical and he could fix anything. And he would explain everything to me. And when we drive, I'd pick out cars and stuff. So my love of the car and the era that I love is different from my dad's, because my dad was a 50s kid. Mm-hmm. And I just like the muscle cars because those are what I saw. It was because on Long Island, you went back 10, 15 years because you could afford those cars then. So all the kids, and the really cool cars were just primer because no one had any fucking money to paint them. So you have a primer car with enough money for a set of rims on the back and then hubcaps on the front. And they'd always get like Krager wheels and they jack them up and you would see these cars. And those are the cars that I would see all over. The older kids were driving around. And we used to go on vacation to Lake George, New York, which we'd go camping. You ever see Italians camp? My mother's hanging cheese and salami in the fucking trees. We're pulling our boat with a Cadillac. We're going up the thruway to camp on this island. My uncles are visiting us on the campsite. They're wearing 3-piece suits. And they're fishing off the dock. They're like, hey, I hope I don't catch a witness. So when we went on vacation, we were allowed to buy stuff we weren't allowed to have. Sugar cereal, because my mother never had sugar cereal in the house. So I could eat Lucky Charms. Mm-hmm. Oh, it was a party. And we were allowed to I could get Hot Rod magazine. I get car magazines. So I'd get the car magazines and comic books. So I'd get Spider-Man and the car magazines. And there was a guy, Joe Oldham, used to write for Hot Rod magazine. His son actually runs Edmunds Inside Line, which is a website for automotive website. So when I moved out here and I got the gig, I connected with him and I went, is your father Joe Oldham? He goes, you know my dad? I go, Hot Rod magazine. So I had my love of cars then, but I don't have the mechanical ability. So in answer to your question, I was, but since I got on Top Gear, I got the keys to the kingdom. And I got to be able to travel to all those places and been exposed to cars I never would have been before. I mean, I drove a Ferrari F12 Berlinetta 188 miles an hour on a causeway. That car cost more than the house I grew up in.
Oh my God.
You know, they flew me to Germany. They put me on the Autobahn. They gave me the new Lamborghini. What did they give me? The Lamborghini. It wasn't the Gallardo. It was the Huracan, the new Lamborghini Huracan. They put me on the Autobahn. They said, go.
It's like a spaceship, that thing.
I did 173 in a left lane in a friggin' Autobahn on an open road. That's fucking stupid. Don't you? That's dumb. But yeah, I got to do all that stuff. I jumped a caddy about 40 feet in the air. I got to, I went to rally school. I got to do all this stuff. So yeah, and it was a great experience. The only thing I not regret, but the only thing that happened, the circumstances was my dad passed away before he could see me doing the show. So yeah, that was the only thing where I really kind of took a punch with that one because he would have loved it.
Right. Yeah. Guys get very passionate about that show. I've noticed. I mean,
yeah, and I was so pleased when I saw the kids' faces because for those of you guys that don't know the show, it was a UK show it was on for 20, 25 years in the UK. Mm-hmm. And we were the American version of the show that was in the UK, kind of like the United States. We're the American version of the colonies.
Right.
That's pretty much how we got here. Take your fucking tea and throw it in the harbor. You know, no taxation without representation. They're wearing red. They're marching in a straight line. Pick them off. So we were the American version of the show, but it was a cult-like show. You know, I mean, cult. It was a worldwide phenomenon. It wasn't as big in the States as it was around the globe. And when we did it, we were sanctioned by them. So it wasn't like we were just doing an imitation by them. We were a version of them that those guys actually did. Right. So we did the first thing in the studio. And I saw the kids' faces, and the kid couldn't look up at me. He was a little kid. He couldn't look up at me. He's, for whatever reason, he was sitting there like this. He goes, I am proud to have you as my presenters. He took ownership of the show. He was 12, 13. He was a kid. He was so shaking. He couldn't. I said, is it okay if I bend down and take a picture with you? And I bent down. I took a picture with him. I said, come on, let's both look at the camera. And I was on my knees looking at it. And the kid's mother took a picture. And he left happy. And that's what that meant to that kid.
Yeah.
And that's what we were allowed to experience, a pre-existing connection with an audience. And it wasn't lost on any of us. Me, Rutt, and Tanner, the other two guys on the show, was that this was not lost on us because we didn't really achieve this. It was only the second or third show. It was the promise of what we could be to them. So in doing the work of what we did, we really bonded as a unit with the same intention of providing the joy for those kids when we saw that day too. So again, that's doing the work. That's doing the work for the reason you're doing it. And again, having a reason you're doing it too, whether it's for your own, seeing how good I can be, or for whatever reason, I got a wife. She eats every day. I got to keep doing this. Every day this woman eats.
Yeah, wives do that.
Yeah. What are you fighting for?
Yeah.
A man's wife can withstand anyhow.
Yeah. That's it, baby. One of my favorite thing is when I see a tree grow through the sidewalk, because I grew up, I love that. Man puts down concrete and nature goes, fuck you and your cunt.
That's New York nature for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you've been on a few cult like shows. I mean, Nurse Jackie, that people were religious about that when that was on.
Great. Yeah, she was great. Edie was just so great and so sweet. And she did the nicest thing for my mother. All right. So I get the gig, right? And right away, my mother becomes the queen of her community.
Yeah.
She's in one of those 55 and over communities. And now she can go, my son is working with Edie Soprano. So right away, oh, you're kidding. No, the Edie Soprano? Yeah, okay, fine. I thought he was a fireman. No, that was the other show. Okay. So
needles.
Yeah, so I'm working. I get the gig, right? And my mother starts reading about Edie. And Edie mentioned me on the Tonight Show. And I was doing the Tonight Show a couple of weeks later. So Edie Soprano said your name. Okay. So my mother starts reading about it. And when she watches the Tonight Show, she finds out that Edie's got 2 kids. So my dad had passed away. And my mother processes guilt by knitting.
Okay.
All right? She's knitting. So I have more Afghans than Kabul because she misses him so much. She's still wearing the black dress. My father died 10 years ago. She's still wearing the black dress. So she's knitting. So she's like, she made winter hats for Edie's kids. She knitted them winter hats. And she's like, listen, Edie Soprano, she's a single mother. She's working. When does she have time to knit? I don't know, Ma. But she made the hats and they're awful. They're just, she's not, they're awful. The brim is over on this side. They look like tiny Elephant Man hats. They were just like for a little John Merrick. It's like over here. So she finishes the hats and she goes, I want you to give these to Edie Soprano. I'm like, oh, thank you, Ma. I open them up. I go, these are freaking. I almost went to buy hats and take the label off and say my mother made these, but I couldn't do it. So I went to work and I said, Edie, look. And Wednesdays, the kids came in. It was very much a family. The kids would come in, Macy and Anderson running around and everything. And okay, Mommy's got to go fight now. And put them in a dressing room. And so I had the hats. I gave them to Edie. I said, look, Edie, my mother made these for the kids, and they're terrible. Don't let the kids wear them. They're gonna get beat up on the bus.
Give them to St. Jude's. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Donate them, put them on a teapot, something. But I have to deliver them to you. And she going, oh my God, Edie. She sent my mother a card with a note in it. Well, then the phone rings. It's my mother. Let me tell you what a lady Edie Soprano is. I go to the mailbox. I open up the mailbox. There's a letter. It's handwritten. I open it up. There's a card with a handwritten note. A handwritten note. She didn't push send. She got up. She wrote a letter. She licked a stamp. She walked to the mailbox to communicate to another human being. That's a friggin' lady. Okay, Ma. What did it say? It said, thank you so much for the card. What did you do with the note? I had it laminated. What? Yes. Where is it? It's in the curio next to the good dishes and the pictures of Sinatra. I said, why did you do that? She's like, well, I made a copy and I put the copy in my bag to show the girls. I didn't want anything to happen to the original. Okay, Mom. What'd they do with the copy? It's in the day room at the clubhouse. Okay. So, and I told Edie that story on the podcast. She had no idea. I don't think I ever told her that that's what happened, but I got to tell her that story when she did my show.
That's amazing.
It's perfect.
That's amazing.
She made my mother happy. How great is that? She took the fun. She took the time. She licked a stamp. Okay.
Nothing makes moms happier than handwritten notes.
Yeah.
It's true. Doesn't matter if it says the same shit as a text message. You handwrite it. Oh my God.
Yeah, and it's also what they understand. Uncertainty breeds, whatever story you're going to tell yourself about. Oh my God, it's not, what do I do? So that's my mother. She doesn't understand. I'm on a show now on CBS All Access, which is the streaming service. Uh-huh. CBS All Access means an hour and a half of my mother going, what channel? What? Oh, for God's sake, what channel is it on? CBS is 2. Is it on 2? Ma. It's on the stream. It's easier for me to get Lucy Liu and Jennifer Goodwin, fly them out to the house and just act it out in my mother's living room for her.
Right. Right. It's crazy with because their generation, they haven't grown up with it. Like we have, like my in-laws, you know, over this pandemic, I feel like I've become their IT person.
Yeah.
Because my husband just ignores them now. And I'm, you know, you're always trying to win them over. And so my husband will just send them to me. And I'm like teaching my father-in-law how to use Microsoft Word.
Really?
Yeah. He's written, by the way, he's a doctor. He's written several books and he doesn't really know how Microsoft Word works.
He's a doctor. He doesn't have to.
Use a typewriter?
No, he writes. I don't know what I was like, what have you been writing on? He's like, I don't know. Cause I guess he's retired now. So someone in his office would help.
Yeah.
Whatever he was doing.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm not that far off from your dad. I mean, I can get away with, I can function in this new environment, but you know what tech support is in my house? It's this. Honey! Honey, I'm going to put an axe in the printer if you don't come down here.
Just turn it off and on.
I did that.
Unplug it.
Yeah. We bought a new refrigerator with an ice maker. I ain't seen ice in 6 months. I don't think it fucking works, but I had to pay for it.
Oh, yeah. You probably need to just change the filter on it.
I don't even think they hooked up the water that goes to the ice maker, to be honest.
I just know that because we've had so many problems with our fridge, and that's always what it is.
If I lay down on that fridge and I look and I see that little piece of the copper, I'm pretty sure it's not connected. I don't want to tell my wife because I don't want to drag it out and have to do it.
Right. You're not fixing it.
Nah.
So what are you working on now that you're really excited about? You've got your show.
Yeah, I got my podcast. I was very happy about that. I released an album in September. It actually debuted #1 on iTunes, which was great. I was like, wow, look at that. And I recorded it at Gotham Comedy in New York, and we didn't rush to release, but we had it, and the pandemic hit. So I was like, all right, I need to put content out there. We have to stay present and put content out. So I did I put the album out because my last album I did last year was called Unconditional, and that got Intro Bang, comedy album of the year, and someone on James Corden heard it, so I did the Corden show, and it had a nice momentum to it, and I was going to put out another one, and the record company wanted to follow it up, and this one's called It's Scary in Here. It came out in September, so I was doing that, working on the podcast are a lot of work, as you know. Yeah, actually, I'll tell you why mine's is a lot of work, because it's not just one thing. There's two different things connected to it. I wanted to communicate a feeling with my podcast, because there's so many out there which are interview shows that people do really well. Frankly, that I'm like, okay, that's already exists in the space. How's mine going to be different? Right. So the feeling I wanted to communicate was, when I was a kid, the best night's sleeps I ever had in my life is when I was upstairs and I heard my mom and dad and they're downstairs laughing. For some reason, that always made me feel good. So that's the vibe I go for on my show. So my show opens up with like 5-10 minutes of me, my wife, my two friends discussing a topic. Then we cut away to a one-on-one interview I've done with a celebrity. And then, like any good group of friends, we talk about them when they leave. So after the interview, we do another 10 or 15 minutes of, did you hear when he said that? That reminds me of this. So it's like you're coming over my house, company's coming over, and then when they leave, we're talking about them.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so now we got the interview, and we got the my house, which is pretty much the before and the after the interview.
Right.
So it's a lot of work, just because it's not just one thing. One episode requires 2 different pieces or 3 different pieces to put together. So it takes a great deal of work, and you always want, as you know, in podcast land, you always want to be ahead, because you never know what's going to happen. Like I got road dates coming up. I'm doing the Hilarities in Cleveland, December. Hold on, let's go to the big board. If anyone's listening out there in podcast land, December 10th through the 12th. And then I'm coming to you guys in Arlington, Virginia at the Draft House 18 and 19. And then, God willing, I'll be at the Helium in St. Louis for New Year's. So with all that stuff going on, and I got this other thing, and you guys graciously pushed the time for me today because I had to record this other thing for this other project I'm doing. So it's, it's pandemic time. Throw shit on the wall, baby.
All right.
Let's keep dancing.
Do
It seems like you haven't really let it bring you down much. You're still doing a lot of stand-up. What's the longest period of time you've gone without doing stand-up?
This was pretty much it. I was on stage March 14th. I was at the Chicago Improv when all this hit. I flew home, and then I didn't work till April, May. Maybe I did a drive-in in May, so I had like a month and change off before I did that drive-in, and yeah, I was going crazy. I realized I had to go for my marriage walk every afternoon because I was driving my wife insane. Because we're not home. You know, I come in on Thursdays. My ass goes to the airport whether I want to or not, because that's I'm either shooting or I got to go somewhere. So just being home and not having that feedback and everything. My wife will even tell me when I'm home for a while. She's like, hey, "Go to the Improv, do a set. You're driving me crazy." I'm like, "You're right." You know, so it's that rudder. It's kind of like a rudder. You know, okay, I can do this because the ideas sit in your head and then they need an outlet. So yeah, I go for my Save My Marriage walk every afternoon.
I like it. I like that you call it that.
Oh yeah, because I'm home and I'm noticing stuff. And see, my wife runs the house, and God bless her. I don't want to run it. It'll go to shit if I do. Here's the money. I'll go out, kill the food. What time's dinner? That's it.
Right.
And my wife's in charge of everything, and she does a great job. So she has a system, and when I'm home and noticing shit, I've learned not to say anything. I've learned the hard way.
Yeah.
Right.
I went, "Honey, why don't you just move the?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, baby, you're busy. I'll tell me to go fuck myself, so you don't have to do it. You're obviously on a schedule, and you have all this working. I'll be fine." Because you notice all kinds of shit I never saw before. There's a fat, naked man that lives in my mirror. Oh,
yeah.
This son of a bitch looks just like me, and he's getting bigger.
Right.
So, yeah,
you start noticing how the other person works, because I like hear my husband working all the time, and I'm like, how do these people deal with you?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah. My wife is like, my job is I get up, and I'm usually up first in the house, right? So I'll get up in the morning, and I'll make my coffee, and then I'll start my day, and then whatever I got to do, I'll work out, go meditate, whatever I want to do. But before I do that, I fill a coffee cup, travel mug of coffee for my wife, so it stays warm. I put it by the side of the bed. My job is done. She wakes up. She's got the coffee there. I for some weird sense, I provided, and I feel better about myself. So, okay. So that's what I do. And then I do and I notice how my wife is getting stuff done, and it takes her a long time to get up, but then she works. I know the period she works, and I know when her tail's down, she's focused, and don't bother her.
Yeah.
But she's focused. So I'm like, okay, I got this window to see my wife here. I got this window to see my wife there.
Right. Yeah, I know these 10 minutes are fine.
Yeah. And and see, my thing is I'm riddled with ADD. Did you guys notice? It's raging right now. So I'll work for 5 minutes. I got to get up, walk around, and I go over. I smell my wife's hair. It's like I need that. I need to go over and just smell your hair, tell you I love you, and just and I'll torture her because I just need the attention. I need to be close to you. I don't know why. I just do. It's like my dog. My dog has to put her butt on me before she goes to sleep, so she's in the pack, and any movement she'll wake up. Right. So I put my butt on my wife, and I tell her that just means I love you. So yeah, she tolerates more of my crazy. Like I know her crazy, right? And she knows my crazy, and what makes my marriage work so well is we just not crazy at the same time.
Yeah.
So and the fights get shorter, which is great. It's just
that's nice.
Yeah, the fights are shorter now.
More efficient.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you know what? It'll be 5 minutes. It'll be fine.
Right.
It's not. I'm not slamming doors. I'm not going for. I need to go for a walk. No, I don't. Right. It'll be fine in 5 minutes. Right. Yeah, I think a happy marriage is. Look, everyone knows at some point the person you love is gonna be a dick. You're 100%. Gonna be a dick. You're gonna be a dick, and everyone's gonna be a dick. So just be a dick as short as you can. That's
right, as short as you can. And if the other person's being a dick, like you said, expect the dick time. That sounds worse than I wanted it to. But you know what I mean? Yeah.
This is it.
You can also expect the other dick time if you want your marriage to work, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, just if the person's in that moment, just be like, okay, this is my husband, also very ADD. Sometimes he has like the ADD attack where I need to get out of here. I need to, just here's the dog, take it for a walk.
Yeah, I can't. Like my wife, I hope she knows by now, don't talk to me on the phone. I can't do two things at once.
Right.
I can't do it. I'll be on the phone. Tell him I gotta leave. I can't do it.
Right.
You guys are giving me a lot to look forward to.
It's the best. It's the best.
Wait.
No.
Wait.
No, it's the best. It's the best.
Oh yeah, best move I ever made.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, and she's on the podcast with me, so she has. We're doing this together, and when I look at, I'm like, oh wow, she's really good. She can do this. She can, and it's helping me with not giving up control, but realize, because here's the other thing I noticed between the two meetings we all work in, like this stand up, I'm everything. I'm the writer, producer, performer, director. I do it all. I mean, I'll take notes, but pretty much it's all me. The podcast, I can't. It's a conversation. What I wanted to do is give a version of my family for you, because that's what I liked. I liked when my house was the center of everything when I was a kid. So there was all the relatives came to my house. I was in stand up, and my brothers were in the restaurant business. So midnight there was a pot of sauce on, and we're just getting home from work. So the house was always people in the house. So I wanted to be able to project that. So in order to do that, I can't have a vision of what an episode's going to be. I can direct them what we want to talk about, but it's going to be that community and that sense of openness, and leaving a space for the audience to sit too in the conversation. So, and it's taught me a great deal of. I'll use the word trust because I don't have a better word, but trusting that it's going to work out, even though I can't control every aspect of it. And the pandemic's done that too.
Yeah.
Because I'm a control freak. And then when things don't work, I used to punish myself. I would say, look what you did. Look, there's no way I can blame myself for this. Don't think I didn't try though.
Yeah.
I spoke to the universe and said, I just want to spend more time with my wife. I want to get off the road. I meant series regular. I didn't mean global pandemic.
Yeah.
So, but we still have to do what we do in these conditions.
It's true.
I had a great gig in Pennsylvania. I flew to Pennsylvania, and there's this giant tent. And I did an outdoor gig. They brought in these heaters, these big tent heaters, and it was BYOB. People brought their own booze, their own lawn chairs. They were all bundled up. They blasted the heaters in the tent. They built a little stage for me. I said, "This is fucking great." It was like 300 people there. This is great. And I did an hour and a half. And we just getting by, just doing it. And it was outside, and it was car alarms going off. So I had to improv for 5 minutes while the car alarms were going off, just to make that funny. But it was people coming together to overcome the situation. I'm like, this. I'm happy to be a part of this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good to know comedy still can work in all this. We've all done all kinds of shows. I've done shows in alleys now, and and people have opened their garages into the alley and watched us, and you know what? They laughed and it worked. It was great.
Yeah.
Nope.
I hear a noise. Is someone's phone screwing up?
No.
No. I think so.
No.
All right. Maybe it's me. Okay. Sorry about that. I just heard a clicking. I didn't know it was going to ruin the audio.
Oh, no.
All right.
Audio's top notch.
Yeah. Yeah, good over here.
So
I felt like Petey, are you frozen or am I interrupting you?
No, you're just being rude. No. Yeah, this is kind of like a marriage, 100 episodes. This is amazing. And what a way.
Yeah, now how did you guys start this?
Petey asked me to. Petey was doing something for the Draft House before I came on, and then Petey was the one who I was a newer. I've been acting forever, but I was a newer stand-up, and Petey asked me to do it, and we did one version of this for a while. Then there were some other people, right? At first, Petey was like,
we would bring on like more guests, local people, and just kind of triads and dyads, because she and I. We were cool off stage, but we didn't really have our like on cast dynamic, I guess, if you want to call it that quite yet. But I knew that I didn't want to do it alone. I started off trying to do this on my own or whatever, and just guest, and it's a pain in the ass to book. And if you at least have one reliable person that's going to show up 15 minutes early, like Lombardi time, even if you don't have the extra guests or whomever, you can just bounce topics off each other. And then we grew our dynamic, and then we just say, hey, you know what? We're just going to have the headliners and pitch this thing. And hey, it's been great.
Yeah. At first we didn't know if headliners were going to do it or not. And we were kind of nervous, but that pretty much everybody says yes. And everybody's down to talk to us. And it's been a really cool experience.
Yeah. It's part of the new delivery system. And the one thing I found when I started doing mine, and mine's pretty new, you guys are ahead of me, but the assistance of the community was something I was like, wow, look at that. Yeah. I had Adam Carolla put me on to help me plug, and then he did my show. Ryan Sickler, who has the Honeydew podcast, which I just did again for the second time and got a lovely prize.
I was noticing that mug. Looks like it really keeps things warm.
Look at that. So yeah, it was really nice to be a part of it. Jimmy Pardo's a friend, the Never Not Funny podcast, which is great. The guys over at the Dollop, Dave Anthony and Gareth Reynolds, those guys are really good. It was it's nice to not be accepted, but to have people realizing that we're all in this together. Yeah, and that's what I look for. And it's like when you guys go, shit, yeah, let's do this. Let's cross-pollinate as much as we can. Yeah, and I'm just hoping that sentiment actually and that intention expands to people, because when it does work, it's again, it's the pandemic. How do you want to be in the face of it?
Yeah.
How do you want to be in the face of this bullshit? What do you want to say? You know what? Yeah, it didn't work out, but I did this. I went down with a sword in my hand.
Yeah.
Fighting for what I believed in with the information I had at the time. So, and full of shit too. That's the other thing I realized. Like I'll write something, and like even if I'm just journaling or just scribbling it out, I'm going, all right, are you full of shit or what? And then sometimes I'll answer myself going, yeah, you're full of shit.
It's important. Know thyself. Know you're full of shitness.
Yeah, know you're full of shitness. Yeah. Call yourself on your own bullshit, because other people can smell it way before you can.
100%.
Yeah. So true. What's interesting is like we've had no real problems getting like headliners. We've had much more, I think, getting local people. Wouldn't you say, Elena?
100%. 100%. Which I think says a lot. But a lot of the time, sort of the bigger the career, the cooler the people in many ways.
Well, it's also helping us, it's helping people put asses in the seats. Why wouldn't you want to? I mean, I look forward to coming to see you guys. It's one of my favorite gigs because I like the people. I like the part of the country I'm in. I have friends. Tony Kornheiser's a friend, and he's got his show. My friend Mark Stern, who's Nigel on the Tony Kornheiser show, not only is going to come down to a guest spot on the show, but he's on my podcast.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, nice. He's on the show with me. And it's a great room. So being part of it and being able to have a conversation with other comics, it's fun. And here's the other thing is you don't realize that what we do, people not only listen to, but it could help somebody sometime. It could get somebody through a tough time. When you get those emails, they make me feel great, because I provided the service. For me, it was those comedy albums under my bed. Those were my prized possession. That and the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue when I was a kid. Those were my prime possession. That's if the bomb goes off, as long as I have these, I'll be all right.
Well, on that note, we want to thank Adam Ferrara for being here with us today. We're very excited to have you at the Arlington Draft House in a couple weeks. And tell people where they can find you, where they can follow you.
At Adam Ferrara on all the social media. The podcast is called the Adam Ferrara Podcast. 30 minutes you'll never get back. And you can get that wherever you get your podcast. My new album is called It's Scary in Here. You can get that wherever you get your comedy albums. It's in heavy rotation. I'm very grateful to Sirius, Pandora, and Spotify. And I hope I get to see you guys real soon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll be there.
Hell yeah.
All right, be good, guys. Hopefully I'll see you soon, and stay safe.
You too.
Thank you much. Take care.
Bye.